Everybody, thanks for watching. So now, is the Bible Black history? Now, this is a question that we have been dealing with for a while now. There's a lot of videos on YouTube, a lot of videos circulating about this particular subject. And a lot of people want answers. A lot of people have a lot of questions regarding the subject. And the thing is, you can, go on YouTube and look at videos. You can go online, of course, and look at a lot of information about this specific subject. But a lot of people are simply trying to validate their religion. And you have some people who are looking for truth, and this is where we basically clash. So, you have people who want to validate their religion, they want to validate their faith, and looking for some kind of proof, some kind of facts to basically validate what they feel and what they believe as far as in their religion. And you have people who are looking for truth, who just want to know the truth. They just want to know what's going on or what happened. What's the real deal with the book? It seems as if it's talking about our history. So the thing is, you have to, what we have to do as adults, as grown people, is stop arguing like little kids. This is something that we do too much. A lot of people don't understand what happens when you debate someone, especially involving religion. This is something that I touched on before about norepinephrine, about the fight or flight hormone, about people not understanding that when you are in an argument about religion, when you are in an argument about something that you disagree with, the same chemical is produced as if you were in a fight for your life. As if you were in a fight, somebody trying to blow your brains out or beat you to death and you're fighting for your life, running for your life. The same kind of hormone is produced when you're simply arguing about religion. So you get people who get real crazy, in this particular debate. A lot of people, they get so angry and so upset when they don't get the answers that they want, when people are not going in the direction that they want, that they get so furious, they say anything. And this is why we see what we see in the comment sections throughout YouTube. You have a lot of hate, a lot of anger in the comment sections. And what's happening is a lot of people are not getting the truth because they are clouded. They're letting their anger cloud their judgment, and they're really more religious than they are, looking for facts, looking for truth. And this is what we have to deal with. Either you're going to grow up and accept facts and accept truth, do the research on your own, or don't ask the questions at all. And this is what we have to do. And a lot of people are not going to agree with what I'm talking about here, which I'll prove my point. And you can always do your own research. But if you want the facts, this is what we have to look to. So what exactly is it that has people believing that the Bible is Black history? Now, this goes into the Hebrew Israelite teachings and what they talk about, which we'll get into, but mostly has to do with people looking at the Ethiopian Bible and believing that Black people wrote that Bible and that it is the oldest Bible and that Black people began writing the Bible before anybody else, and that all the prophets and Moses and everybody else was Black. So this is Black history. This is a Black book. Now, besides the fact that we can't prove that any of these prophets ever existed, and let alone what color they was, we can go and look at something like the Ethiopian Bible and understand the truth about it. Now, people, without doing any research, they had Ethiopia and they automatically think, of course, Black people, African people. But the Ethiopian Bible, you have the Abba-Garama Bible, which comes from the Garama Monastery. And Abba-Garama was a Byzantine royal. He was not African. He basically came into the Abba-Garama Monastery and copied the Abba-Garama manuscript to the Ethiopian Ge'ez. And he's supposed to have did that in one day. Now, besides all the spooky stuff that's surrounding this man, one, you got to understand that the Ethiopian Bible, is not the oldest manuscript. It is not the oldest Bible in existence. Two, you have to understand that when he copied and created the Abba-Garama manuscript, he copied from a Greek manuscript to give them the Ethiopian Bible. So the Ethiopian Bible itself was copied from a Greek manuscript. So this is what you have to understand. Two, the date of the Ethiopian Bible dates back between 390 AD and right around 600 or 640 AD. So it's not the oldest. When you go back and you look at the Codex Vaticanus, Codex Sinaiticus, they date before that, around 300 AD to about 400 AD, around that time. And you also have, of course, Vetus Latina, Latin Vulgate. You have other biblical manuscripts that's around that time and before that time, which you have to understand. All those dates are debated, but what's not debated is where the origin of the written, let's say, Torah, beginning, the biblical manuscripts comes from, which that is from the Greeks, which we know we have the Torah, which we can prove originally was first written in Greek, not Hebrew. Of course, you was told that it was written in Hebrew. The problem is we never had, nor do we have proof that we ever had in our possession a Hebrew manuscript or Hebrew Torah written in the Hebrew language that predates the Septuagint Greek. Plain and simple. So basically what I'm saying, officially, we get the start of the Bible or the Torah, the Tanakh, whatever you want to call it. We get the start of it beginning with Ptolemy II Philadelphus and the Greeks. Ptolemy II Philadelphus, as I talk about, he wanted a copy of the Hebrew law translated into Greek, where we get the Septuagint from. Septuagint means 70. What he did was he supposedly had commissioned or got the Jews to basically commission 6 Hebrew elders, each from the 12 tribes of Israel, to come to Alexandria, Egypt, to do a translation of the Hebrew law from Hebrew to Greek. The problem is there's absolutely no proof of this ever happening besides the letters of Aristeas, which has been proven and dated to have been written after the fact. And there's no proof that shows us at all that these Hebrews actually did this translation. There's no proof of any Hebrew manuscript that they would have used to do the translation. There's absolutely no proof at all that this stuff ever happened. So basically, all of a sudden, we get poof out of thin air, the Septuagint Greek given to us by a fake Greek pharaoh who conquered his way onto the Egyptian throne and gave us this, Torah. Now understand that the Septuagint Greek is dated around the 3rd century BCE. The Dead Sea Scrolls is not older than the Septuagint Greek. And remember, the Dead Sea Scrolls wasn't found until 1947. So understand, even though we know they were supposed to have stashed around the Jewish war, and we get into all that, this is what you have to understand. You have to look at real proven history. What's a fact? The problem is a lot of people are gone off of biblical history and looking in the Bible and not paying attention to actual proven history and what actually took place and what's actually documented by different civilizations. It is proven. There's no way you can doubt it. It is proven. If you go by biblical history, of course, you're going to be confounded by the book and you're going to be believing what's in the book. This is why many of you are confused and trying to validate your religion because you find no proof. When you look at the stories in the Bible and you go look at actual proven history, trying to find this information, you will not find it. These people did not exist. You have to understand what this stuff is talking about. So, 1, you look at the fact that Israel, what we call Israel today, was once the territory, was once a part of the ancient Egyptian empire, meaning that land was full of black people. When you know history, you have to understand, 1, that we know that the ancient Egyptians was conquered by the Persians, and then the Persians was conquered by the Greeks. So when the Persians conquered into Israel, that land still was populated with black people, plain and simple. When the Greeks came in and took it from the Persians, it was still populated with black people. Yes, some of them scattered and ran down into lower Africa and different places, but it was still populated with African people. That whole region was black people. So you have to realize that once the Greeks took hold of the territory, they was trying to force onto the black people, the Africans, the worship of Greek gods, which the Africans was not having it. These black folks was not having that in Israel. All you got to do is look at the before and after. Look at before the conquest of Kemet. Look at the Greeks. Look at what the Greeks was doing. Look at the civilization that was mimicking Kemet, plain and simple. So once they finally conquered Kemet, look at what they did. They went in there and they tried to be like the Egyptians. That's why when you go in there, you find all of these things that you see the Greeks wearing the Egyptian dress, the Egyptian headdress, trying to make themselves pharaohs, making gods out of themselves, trying to get the Egyptians to worship them as gods, and the Egyptians wasn't having it. This is why we see these statues. I mean, look at this. You see the nose is intact. This is a Ptolemy dressed like an Egyptian. Where's the statues of him dressed like this before the conquest of Kemet? They don't exist. His nose is still intact because he's white. You see all the black ones, they broke the nose off. All the Greeks did was copy and follow Kemet, plain and simple. When you look at that time, you can see from the artifacts that they had stelas like Kemet. They tried to act like Kemet and dress like them and decree themselves the same way the Egyptians did. When Frank Gaudio found the sunken city of Heraklion, he pulled up the Serapis statue, showing you that during the time that they was ruling in Kemet, they tried to get the Egyptians to worship them as gods and worship made up gods. The Egyptians was not having it. I just came back from Kemet and I was in the Cairo Museum, and I showed people exactly what the Greco-Roman section looked like and how much they tried to copy off Kemet. Look at this wannabe pharaoh right here. It's hot. They got to keep it a certain temperature in here. But look at the face, clearly. This is the Greco-Roman era. You see how they try to decree themselves like us. Make stelas. See, it's all in Greek. Bullshit. All here. This is from the Greco-Roman era. Greco-Roman, when they came into Kemet and tried to basically, be like us. Still our shit. You see their statues here, they're putting their own little section. They actually came into Kemet and carved themselves into a lot of the walls. Here is the actual statue of Serapis Christos right here. You can see him. Serapis. You can see when they had Zeus, Ammon. So you can see where the stuff came from. Zeus, Ammon. Everything that we tell you about this stuff, it's all here. It's no bullshit. It's here telling you the truth about how they stole from Kemet. So you can see when they show you that Serapis statue, Zeus, Ammon, what was going on. What is Zeus, Ammon? We know they're talking about Kemet. Then all of a sudden, not before the fall of Kemet, you don't see nobody talking about no Hebrews. You don't see the Greeks trying to mimic any Hebrews. But all of a sudden, after they conquer the Egyptian empire, they all of a sudden focused on some Hebrews. What is that? What happened, as I said, they wouldn't worship them as gods, and they created Judaism and hid Greek mythology within it to get them to worship them as gods without knowing it. Plain and simple. And when you pay attention to the Torah, and you pay attention to the fact that it mimics the Greek mythology, you can see what happened. Since these Africans wouldn't worship these Greek gods, they hid them within the Torah. So again, when you have the story of Eve and the apple, it mimics off of Pandora's box. The same type thing, Pandora. You have Noah's Ark, you have Deucalion and Pharaoh. You have Samson, you have Hercules, you have God, you have Zeus. You have so many different parallels between the two, Greek mythology and these biblical characters, that you can see where this stuff came from. Now, you would say that, well, the Bible was there first, but you cannot prove this. And we know that Greek mythology goes back to at least 1000 BCE with Homer and the Iliad and Homer's Odyssey. So that's proven. This is all proven stuff that we can find. You're not going to go back in history and be able to find anybody talking about any Moses, Noah, or what have you outside of the biblical manuscripts. So when you pay attention, this all fits within what really happened with black people. See, they covering up the real black history with these Bible stories, not showing you exactly what took place, but what they did. And they hiding it within the Bible and trying to make it as if It's because of God that they was able to go and conquer all these places, which is why they have control of so many different places. This is how they're hiding the fact that all they did was go in, make friends with the Africans, stab them in the back, take their land, plain and simple. So when you understand that Rome, what is called Rome, we don't know what they called it before then, was controlled by African people. This is another proven fact. And that you had the Aryans, white people, come down and eventually join in with the Africans and basically move up in positions of power. Basically what you have when the barbarians came in, who the barbarians is credited with the fall of Rome. The barbarians supposed to have came in and took Rome, and basically this is how Rome fell. The problem is, if Rome fell, how is it that the church stayed intact? The papacy stayed intact. The Caesars fell, but everything else seemed to be fine as far as what Rome is mostly known for, which is Catholicism. That stayed intact. Why was that so? So when you understand that black people ruled that land before the Caesars, and that the fall of Rome was the fall of Rome in the hands of black people and the rise of Rome in the hands of the Europeans, plain and simple. Now, the reason why I say that is because you have to look at the Jewish War. And the whole thing, what the whole Jewish War was about, it wasn't about Jews just trying to attack the Romans, anything like that. These were the people who rightfully belong in that land. These black people were Jews, the Jews who that land belonged to. They attacked Rome because they were trying to take their home back. Plain and simple. The whole story has been told to you in a lie about the whole Jewish War and what that whole thing was about. It's all bullshit. These were black people trying to take back their land, plain and simple, because it was taken from them by the so-called barbarians, who was the Romans themselves. This whole thing was a setup from the jump. They got in there, they got into positions of power, they got cool with the Africans, and they took over the land and took these people out of there, enslaved most of them, and wiped the rest of them out. That is the true history of what happened in Rome. Plain and simple. They were trying to cover it up for a long time, but they can't cover up everything. And people will tell you, because you have too many cases to people outside of Rome telling you that Rome was black. It was originally full of black people, and this is what happened to you. What happened to them. And when you pay attention to everything that took place after that, you can see the conquering of Rome and how it spread into territories that was basically ruled by African people. We could take it all the way up to Ferdinand and Isabella in Spain when they took it from the Moors. Plain and simple, who the Moors, once they joined with the Muslims, they took it from other black people. And they trickled down into northern Africa and began to take those lands, which is why when you go into northern Africa, from Morocco to Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, when you go to the northern parts, you have mixed people. You have Romans mixed with Arabs, mixed with Africans, mixed. You look at Morocco, those people look more white than anything else. Those are Romans mixed with Berbers, mixed with Arabs. Plain and simple. When you understand real history and you use your own eyes, you can see exactly what took place. Rome conquered into these places. So we know Rome had the Egypt for a while, which they took it from the Greeks. And then the reason why you have Arabs there today is because they took it from the Romans. So when people talk about the Pope worshiping the Black Madonna and all these black paintings of biblical things, of course, because the people in Rome was black. Before this whole takeover took place, these people was worshiping Jesus as black, Mary as black, all these biblical prophets as being black. But what you have to understand is that they was indoctrinated into this stuff first. So when you go back to Judaism and being forced onto the Africans, you have to understand how it stuck. Because once you get rid of one generation and you have the kids brought up with this ideology, they're going to spread it. And that's exactly what took place. So we look at Hellenization with the Greeks. Look at Hellenization, which is why people point to Hellenization as proving the letters of Orestes wrong, because the letters of Orestes goes against Hellenization. The letters of Orestes, which is LXX, which is where we're supposed to get our Septuagint from, which is the original Torah in Greek, you might as well say. And when you read the story, it says that the Ptolemy II Philadelphus, the Greeks basically gave up all this stuff to basically get this translation, which doesn't fit with the fact that they went into Israel and forced Hellenization on the people. and you would ask yourself, why would they free all these thousands of Jewish slaves if they was just going to have to go there and force these people to convert to Hellenization, to the Greek, worshiping the Greek gods? And this is what you have to realize. One, if this is not registering, one, why? Why is it that we don't see in the ancient world any worship of these Greek gods, yet we see the people either being Jews, Christians, and later Muslims? What happened? Hellenization lasted for hundreds of years. How come we can't find no civilization besides the Greeks that worship these Greek gods after all these hundreds of years of Hellenization? Then you have to ask yourself, why would the Romans continue Hellenization after the Greeks? Think about that. See, they got you confused with what Hellenization was. Hellenization wasn't the spreading of Greek mythology. It was the spreading of the Judeo-Christian doctrine. But before that, what you had was a bunch of people being indoctrinated into Judaism and later Christianity. And once the whole Arab conquest happened and it came in and started rushing in all these lands, you had the spreading of Islam later on. But as far as the book being a black book or black history, what it is a distortion of the truth. And what it is doing is using these stories to give validity to the claims of these people in these lands. And it's not telling the true story of what happened. Was you had African people, black lands being taken over by these Greeks, by the Romans, and by the Arabs. And the book is trying to give justification for the genocide of black people, plain and simple. So quick backtrack, understand one, the Ethiopian Bible is not the oldest Bible. That's a proven fact. Two, we know that we get the Septuagint from the Greeks, and that is reportedly, as far as what we can prove, the oldest or the origin of the Torah. We don't have any proof of the origin of the Torah from any other source outside of biblical text, which is not proven. So as far as we know, we get it from the Greeks, which is why it was originally written in Greek, which is why the New Testament was written in Greek. You got to think about that. You got to think about that. It was written in Greek. So there it is. Now, you get into the Hebrew Israelite doctrine, and it is the doctrine that really is fueling all of this. And you have to understand, one, that it's so easy to just discount the whole doctrine. It's really easy when you understand real history. Now, you can go ahead and look at all the so-called artifacts and all the stuff that's saying that you have the proof of these black Hebrews going back, hundreds of years. Of course. You can go ahead and you can find any artifact that you want that's going to date the Jews all the way back to, as I said, the 3rd century BCE. And I'll even give them the 4th century BCE, which is because, the Greeks conquered the Egyptian territory in the 4th century BCE. So I'll give them that. I'll give them back that far, the 4th century BCE. You will not find anything Hebrew before that, period. When you find anything that's writing, they try to steal from the Phoenicians and say it's Paleo-Hebrew and, it derives from the Phoenicians and that territory. But you got to understand what that territory still was part of the Egyptian territory. They can't give you nothing definitive as far as the Hebrew Israelites being older than the 4th century BCE. Nothing is definitive. Nothing is proven. Every single piece of shard pottery, there's absolutely no manuscripts. But every piece of pottery, which is always a shard is always in doubt. It's never proven 100% to be what they say it is. Understand that. No bodies, no ruins of any civilizations. What's going on? No people talking about these Hebrews or Greeks outside of the Bible. How is that possible? I mean, come on. Y'all got to snap out of it. Every single civilization in the world has had another civilization talk about them. Or you go into one civilization and you find artifacts from another. So you can go into Greece, find Egyptian artifacts, vice versa. You can go into Israel, find Egyptian artifacts, which they're still finding to this day. You can't find nothing from the Hebrews. We find in bodies. We find in monuments. We find in all kinds of artifacts. Nothing from a King David, from a Moses, from these Israelites running around tearing up shit. Nothing. Not one body, not nothing. You got to understand that. So, when you prove that Bible is basically written by the Greeks, which is easy to do, as I just did, well, the white man wrote the Bible. This is why they desperately need for King James to be black, so they can say, well, no, those Bibles are all wrong. King James got it right. And you have some people, you have some Hebrews who won't even touch the New Testament, who will say, well, I only go by the Old Testament Torah, but they still can't give you a Torah from African people before the Greeks. This is where the stuff came from. So the whole claim is Deuteronomy 28, of course, which Deuteronomy 28, as I have proven, is a fraud. So now, as I have proven in previous videos about Deuteronomy 28, the main book that people point to, the main verses, main chapter that people point to and say, well, it's because of Deuteronomy 28 that they believe that the Bible is black history. Plain and simple. And as I said before, of course, Deuteronomy 28 is talking about black people. There's no way around that. But you have to keep in mind that the King James Version, which is where you're going to find these particular verses in Deuteronomy 28, the King James Version was written between 1604 and 1611. So, of course, King James already knew about the yoke of iron. He already knew about what was happening to the slaves because slavery was already in full swing at that time. The problem is you are all believing that Deuteronomy 28 is ancient, that it's 2,000 years old, that Moses wrote this stuff, over 2,000 years ago and predicted what would happen to black people. It's not a prediction. It's not a prophecy. It's what King James put during the time slavery was already going on. How do we know this? One, when you go back and look at the older manuscripts, Deuteronomy 28 is not the same. It's different, meaning King James changed Deuteronomy 28 to fit what was happening to African people to justify slavery. Plain and simple. Now, how do we know this? One, when you go to Codex Sinaiticus, as I've proven, you can go to Deuteronomy 28:68, where in the King James Bible is talking about going back to Egypt on ships or what have you, which people say that Egypt is America or America is the new Egypt, dealing with slavery. But when you look at the version in Codex Sinaiticus, which is noted as being the oldest complete biblical manuscript, complete being the key word here, it's not the oldest, it is the oldest complete. But when you look at Codex Sinaiticus, it's not talking about going back to Egypt on ships. It's talking about children in that verse. It says, definite place there exists an enemy unto your child, and child run away and not be the inquiree. This is what it's talking about in Deuteronomy in Greek in the Codex Sinaiticus manuscript. It is saying nothing about Egypt or slavery or anything like that. Now, the curious thing is a lot of people believe that King James Version matches up with the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is something that people repeat over and over again, but we know it's bullshit if you do extra research because one, we can't tell what the Dead Sea Scrolls say because it's in pieces. Two, they haven't released all of the Dead Sea Scrolls. They haven't released all of the manuscript, only a little bit of it. So we don't really know what it says. It's a huge amount of it that was not released. How many people know that? See, people don't understand it, just repeat what they hear. They haven't released the whole thing, and the parts that they did release is in pieces. It's in pieces. So you can't tell. You can't tell. So these are the facts. This is what you have to go back and look at and understand. One, you have to pay attention to the fact that this book in every single facet was given to us by governments. And if you want to trust governments, then, that's on you. We got the Bible during slavery. Plain and simple, that should be the first red flag. And you can say, well, the Africans obviously know about the Bible or the Torah before slavery, but you're not reading those books. You're not reading those ancient manuscripts. You are reading the King James Version, which we got during slavery. Plain and simple. So don't go make it like, we reading those same ancient manuscripts that was given to the Africans way back when. Bullshit. You reading the King James Version, or you reading a translation, another translation of the King James Version, ESV or NIV or what have you. They all come from the King James Version, which is just, the words has been changed to make it, fit more people's understanding of what it's actually talking about. That's all it is. All of it goes back to the King James Version. And those ancient biblical manuscripts said something different to fit those times. Because that's what the book was about. Fitting the times, getting people to adapt to what was being said and fall victim to it. It's all dealing with the justification of the genocide and theft of African people's land and our wealth. So I always get comments, I always get questions from people who don't want to accept these facts. No matter how many times I repeat them, no matter how many times I speak what I'm talking about, again, over and over again. Again, either you're going to accept it or not. If you're not going to accept it, then go ahead. Just go and, be with your Bible, worship your Bible, what have you, and just, let it go. But when you have people constantly come to the channel and people constantly repeating the same stuff over and over again and cannot prove a single shred of what they're spitting, it's crazy. Now, everything I've said to you, as I said, you can go look for yourself. You can find out for yourself. It's proven. The facts are there. This stuff is old. This is not nothing new. People have proven this shit a long time ago. So it's not nothing new. You need to look and pay attention to why a doctrine like this would exist. You would give up the rich, beautiful Africa for dusty as Israel. I've been to both places. There's nowhere in the world I would give up Africa for Israel. You crazy. Think about that. These people are in there taking that land. They have been taking it for a long time. Africa feeds the world. You want to give that up for Israel? Think about how stupid that is. Because you think your people holy or what have you. And all it's bullshit. Stop it. Stop it. Y'all need to wake up and pay attention. Never in my life would I ever have thought I would see black people disrespect Africa so much for Israel. You can't even go in there. They don't even want you there, those people. You have people leave comments like, put people on blast right here. It says, excuse me, bruh, but we are not Africans. We broke the Most High's commandments. We are not Africans. We are from Shem, not Ham. Man, read the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28. Jesus is a black man. Read Revelation chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. We are from Jerusalem, Israel. I am not African. You showing Jesus as a white European. He was cursed by our God because we broke his commandments. You are off in left field. Satan has no power. He can only get it from the Most High. And this is a typical comment from people. Most High this, Most High that. We broke God's covenant, disobeyed God, or what have you. Come on, people. Wake the hell up. We disobeyed God. First of all, prove that this God exists for us to have disobeyed him. When did it happen? What did we disobey exactly? Some covenant? Some commandment? First of all, every single people that has to do with that book was breaking every single commandment and law of God before, during, and after that Bible came into existence. So at the same time these people was giving us the book, they was already enslaving, committing murder, rape, genocide of black people. For what? To take what was yours. Plain and simple. So you broke God's commandments, God's law, so you cursed. This is why all this stuff is going to happen to black people, blah, blah, blah. How fitting is that? That the people who just so happen to be in power today, the people who we can go back and look to in history as being the people who took all of our shit, is the one who is basically, the warden of our fucking prison here on the planet. Think about that. These are the same people that gave you the book, that said this bullshit, the same people that took everything from you, and we supposed to be cursed, but they get to go around the world and commit genocide and murder and all kinds of despicable, disgusting shit on the planet, and absolutely nothing happens to them. But don't worry about it. They're going to get their comeuppance at the end of the world in judgment. The Bible says that, Jesus is going to come back and destroy them all. So you got to wait for that. They get to have all the earthly pleasures and everything that they want, still read the Bible, repent, become a Christian or get saved or what have you, and then go to heaven. You gotta live a life of suffering and misery and poverty and hope that you go to heaven, but they get to have both. Best of both worlds. You got to wait to get your mansion till you die. Bible telling you to obey your masters, to obey your earthly masters as you would God. Think about that. Slaves obey your master with fear and trembling as if he was Jesus. What? Don't that sound like some shit that they would write? And y'all believe in this shit? What the hell is wrong with y'all? It's obviously put there by them as justification for your incarceration, for your enslavement. Not to mention the fact that, as I pointed out in Ezra having and talking about the judicial court system, fines, confiscation of goods, imprisonment, death. This is why you put your hand on the Bible, because the laws came from the white man's book, which is why your Bible says that God put the powers that be in charge, the white man, this government system. Plain and simple. And we supposed to just be black people cursed because we disobeyed some God. Like, come on. How stupid can you be? This shit is ridiculous. Y'all better wake up. So again, it goes back to either you're going to accept common sense, what's rational, what's proven, or you're going to accept blind faith. And again, if that's the case, you want to accept blind faith, then go ahead with your faith. You ain't supposed to be on YouTube or on Facebook or what have you, according to your Bible anyway, you sinning. So what are you doing here? There's no reason for you to be here. If that's what you're going to accept, you don't want to hear any rational argument, then there's no point. So again, some people just want to argue. Some people are crazy, and some people don't use common sense. They're so caught up in a fairy tale and not using common sense as it pertains to the Bible that they can't even, form a good argument to basically to prove their book. The arguments I get is retarded. So I saved the best one for last. What is the alternative to God then, my brother? Since there ain't no God, we can start stealing, killing, and all the things we were told we couldn't by God, huh? What kind of civilization would that make? I'll get back to that. The slave mentality of black people backfires against blacks when it comes to God. They can't disassociate the imperfect white man who introduced to them Christianity from the living and perfect creator. They worship the white man more than God. So if the white man fails, then so does God in these black folks' mind. This dude rejects the Bible and Christianity, essentially because white people fall short of the glory of God. If a deaf phone salesman sells me an iPhone, then I find out the same guy tried to kill me and was deaf. Does that mean the iPhone doesn't exist? What if I tell all iPhone users to throw their iPhone in the trash because the distributor is evil and deaf? What does that have to do with the phone? Likewise, what does evil white people have to do with God? If one knew the Bible, one would know better. Wow. And the thing is, this dude probably thought he said something real smart and great. How you going to compare the slavery, the genocide, the murder, rape, and torture of black people to a damn iPhone salesman being deaf? What kind of stupid ass question is that? So first of all, of course, yes, to answer his question, yeah. Because the thing is, if you're an iPhone salesman, you're selling an iPhone. iPhones basically have a whole saying that they stand by. They have a whole, they have a thing. They stand by with their phones. The phone's being the best. iPhone is the best. It's supposed to do this. If your phone don't do this, what are you going to do? You're going to bring it back, right? So you're supposed to be able to pick up your iPhone, press some buttons, make a call, and speak to the person on the other side of that phone, right? That's the claim of a phone. If it's a phone, that's what you're supposed to do. Now, if you can't do that, that means you ain't pay your bill, so you can just go pay your bill, and then boom, that'll go ahead and rectify the whole situation, right? As far as with an iPhone. Now, if you go ahead and you buy an iPhone, or even if you get an iPhone for free, and you go to call somebody and you can't make a phone call, there's a problem, right? You're not supposed to complain about that. You're not supposed to take it back to the store and say, hey, what's up with this phone? It don't work. It's not working. But on the flip side, with the Bible, you have the Bible is saying that, one, you can call out to Jesus. You go ahead and you read Matthew 21:22, Matthew 7:7. It's basically saying all things to ask for in prayer shall be given to you. Whatever you ask for, you can get. Not possible. So you can go ahead and bow your head right now and pray for a Bible. It's not going to fall out the sky. You can go ahead and bow your head and pray. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing. But the book says go ahead and pray. You're supposed to get what you ask for. Nothing. It's not happening. Not to mention the fact that you can't prove any of this stuff ever happened. We know we can go back to iPhone, Steve Jobs. We can go back and find his family, the history of his family, the history of the company. We can find the phone itself. We can find the creators of the phone. So you can't compare the damn iPhone to the Bible because you can't do none of that with the damn Bible. What the hell is wrong with people? So what you have with the Bible, if you want to put it in context with the phone, is basically you have people acting like the phone work. People pressing buttons on the phone, pump faking, acting like they talking to somebody, but they ain't really talking to no damn body. And when you ask them who the hell they talking to, they get upset, they get mad. Well, their phone don't work. It's like, I tried to use the phone, dude. Shit don't work. It's not working. Who you talking to? Well, let me see that phone and see if you actually talk to somebody. Turn it to an argument. You ain't talking to nobody because the phone don't work. Since you want to put it in that context, we can go ahead and put it in that context because it fits. So you have people acting like they phone work, acting like they talking to somebody, and somebody's on the other line when it ain't. People pump faking, acting like they worship that book and they go by that book when they just bullshit. And it's sad. It's sad to me. It's sad because, some people, I believe, is so educated and smart black folks to see them, down on their knees and talking to themselves, acting like a crazy person. It's sad to see grown ass people believe in these fairy tale stories because they don't want to accept the truth. That's something wrong with you. There's something mentally wrong with you. If you walk around on the phone that didn't work and talked on it all the time, then people will put you in the fucking crazy house. So now my hope is that people wake up and people just do the research and figure this stuff out for themselves. Because obviously people don't want to listen to somebody else give them information dealing with something so sensitive and personal to them. So this is why I say to people, I don't want you to just accept what I'm saying. Please just listen, go do your own research so you can get yourself. And that's what I did. I myself was a Christian, die-hard fucking Christian. In church, I was raised in church. I went to Bible camp. I went to Sunday school. My uncle's a preacher. I grew up in church, literally in church. And I was a Christian. I was super die-hard. So I know that feeling. I know what it feels like to be in church and act like you're feeling the Holy Spirit and trying to feel what everybody else is feeling, and you just feeling yourself. You're feeding off the energy of the people in the room, just like people do at a damn concert. It's energy from people in the room. Music makes people jump, shout, and feel stuff. That's what it's designed for you to feel it. And this is what's happening, except people are mistaking these feelings with God. So you're trying to tell me that God is in the club? God is at a Jay-Z concert? Because it's the same type of behavior people have at these concerts. They jumping around going crazy. You have mosh pits with people jumping around and smashing heads. So the crazy stuff I see in church, I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked by, because you see it in other venues where music is being played. So it's not God. Why would God come down and touch you or send the Holy Spirit to touch you to make you dance around like a damn chicken? Instead of touching somebody who needs, to be fed, who needs food, who's starving to death. Touching somebody who's about to crash and kill a bunch of people. But he's going to touch you in church so you run around and jump around like a damn chicken with his head cut off. Common sense. Wake the hell up. We got to snap out of this shit. It's almost 2018 and people still believing in fairy tales. We are not cursed. What the hell is wrong with y'all? Cursed. What is that? Cursed. No, we ain't cursed. You can't point to me in the Bible and show me definitively where the Bible is saying specifically only white people is going to burn or get some kind of judgment in the end. Because while you're sitting around waiting for that, these people are collecting power and moving into positions of power to basically end up running the whole entire world. And when you think this Jesus is supposed to come back and kill them all, it's going to be too late. We're going to be gone. They're going to still be standing because your ass want to believe in hocus pocus. This shit is crazy. But again, it's just another video on the Bible, and I'm going to keep pounding this subject until people snap out of it. And if you can't accept it, you're not supposed to be here. You shouldn't be here in the first place. So just keep it moving. Take your book and stick with that book. Stay off of social media. You ain't supposed to be here. Stay out of the comment section. You ain't supposed to be there. This is why I ignore a lot of people's comments, because you ain't even supposed to be here in the first place. So I can't even respect you and take you seriously because you ain't supposed to be here. So you're already going against your book. So how you on my back about going against your book when you do it every single day, every second? It's bullshit. These people are hypocrites. And, for the people who are on the fence, you need to just do the research. Figure it out. It's easy. It's easy. The book is here for you to read. Read it. Understand it. There's a lot of stuff in that book that is good that you need to know. The book, it has a lot of information hidden within it, which is what I speak to. And you need to understand what the true message is and what the book is actually trying to tell you, because it wasn't meant for you to get that message. It was meant for you to be running around on your knees praying to some goddamn invisible God. Plain and simple. And this is exactly what people are doing. They're not finding out the truth. Nothing is going to happen. It's not going to happen. Nothing is going to happen with you praying. No bus is going to fall on your head because you're doing research against the book. You're just going to get some information and you're going to find out the truth, and it's going to make you free, just like the book said. So I want to thank people for taking the time to watch. Thank you guys for supporting, and I'll see you guys next video.